The Oklahoma City Thunder win game 2, 123-107. They tied things up 1-1. Andrew, first thoughts on game 2?
Yeah, I mean, it was just another, like, let's call it a dominant performance from Shea. I have a stat for you later on in the episode, but I think that Shea is just one of the most consistent players in the NBA. And the Pacers didn't roll over, but this game was essentially won in the second quarter when the Thunder blew it open. I think the run at one point, the graphic was 17-4, and they either expanded on that run or at least held it at that point. I know the Pacers went on a 10-0 run, like an ensuing run, maybe a couple minutes later after that, but they always the Thunder were able to keep it from anywhere from 10 to 20 points, and it just never felt like the Pacers were really in the game after going into the second half. Tyrese Halliburton really didn't show up when you needed him to, and that is kind of the knock on him. Where he is such a great player. I just think that he needs to be just a little bit more aggressive to take the very next step because he's one of the best players in the NBA. So a lot to look forward to, and I think Game 3 is going to be one of the most pivotal games in the series.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you brought up Tyrese Halliburton. I guess I'll say a couple things really quick, just in Oklahoma City's favor before we get into how Halliburton played in this game. The bench showed up. We knew that if Jalen Williams as well and Chet Holmgren played a lot better than they did in game 1, that this Oklahoma City team would be tough to beat. They still forced turnovers, got to the free throw line. They were really good defensively, and it felt like with their backs against the wall, this was kind of what we expected, that they just had to put together a really good game, and they were able to do it. They've risen to the occasion all year, and they could not go back to Indiana down 2-0, and they responded again just like they have all season after a loss, and you got to respect it. Now, as you mentioned, Tyrese Halliburton, I've been saying he is a superstar. You know, we take the media stuff out of it. I've been saying that he is a superstar. You obviously incorporate the media stuff, and you're saying he's a little bit too inconsistent. Tonight was one of those nights. I'm totally on board with what you're potentially going to have to say about his performance. This is one of those times where he needed to show up and be way more aggressive, and it just feels like when you get games like this, you're going to drop these pivotal games against this Oklahoma City Thunder team that's just too good.
Yeah, I wanted to check the SGA box before I went into the rest of the Oklahoma City Thunder team. They played well as a whole team. And the stat that I had for you was I wanted you to guess when the last time Shea scored less than 10 points in a game was.
Oh God. I mean, was it this year? I don't even think he scored less than 10 points this year. I'm going to go 2 years ago.
Yeah, so it was last year. It was October
Okay.
29th, one of the third great game of the season for them. He scored 9 points, and he's only scored less than 10 points once. It was that game in the last 3 seasons. He is just Mr. Consistency. Even when he's not having a good game, he'll find a way to either get to the free throw line or score points in some capacity. His 34 points felt a lot more impactful than his 38 points last game, and just in general, he is their floor general. He is their best player, so I wanted to check that box off. But going into their bench a little bit, obviously the Caruso, if you want to call it that. I was very annoyed by that nickname last game, but I thought it was well-deserved this game. He showed up for them both offensively and defensively like he does. He is a beast on defense, and he had 20 points to contribute to this game. And then Aaron Wiggins also, obviously, he had 5 threes off the bench. One of the players that they just can get consistent minutes from and just consistent stuff from off the bench. Isaiah Joe was one of those players. They have just a lot of guys off the bench that can contribute for them, and he showed up big today, so I wanted to give a little shout out to him too.
Oh, yeah. So I'm glad that you started with SGA. That was definitely needed for me. I almost felt like it goes without saying, just how great he's been. But you're right. Today's points were a lot more impactful than they were from game 1. He was super aggressive in game 1, had 10 shots, 11 shots in the first quarter of that game. Today, he was a lot more poised, a lot more efficient, and everything was firing on all cylinders. So he didn't feel like he had to be all that aggressive for the Thunder. They're extremely deep. Both of these teams have really good benches that you feel like you can rely on. Today, felt like the Thunder were just firing from the top all the way to the bottom. Let's get into the Pacers then, because obviously you had decent games statistically from TJ McConnell and Benedict Mathurin, but for the most part, this was empty calories, even though they had 5 guys in the starting lineup in double figures, 7 guys total for the team. They just didn't have enough scoring. Part of that was Tyrese Halliburton. He had 17 points to end the game, but he only had 9 points for the first 3.5 quarters. He had 12 points in the final quarter. That's just not enough. You can't go that long in the game with having just 6 points and feel like you're waiting on somebody else to take the reins when you don't really have a player that can do that. All respect, no disrespect to Pascal Siakam.
No, I completely agree, and it feels like you mentioned it that it just takes like a little bit too long to get going, and against a Oklahoma City team that can blow this game open at any point. I mean, they did it today in the second quarter. They've been known for doing it in the third quarter over the course of the East playoffs. You can't wait for your superstar or budding superstar to like just you can't have him show up in the third or fourth quarter consistently because there's only going to be so long that your bench and your surrounding players, no matter how good they are, can hold you up. You need the best player on your team to play like the best player on your team for 4 quarters. It feels like far too often Tyrese Halliburton is just a little bit too passive. And I'm not like completely off the Tyrese Halliburton train. I do think he's like one of the best players in the NBA. He was in an All NBA selection. Like he is that guy. Like we've seen him make 4 game winners over the course of 4 series at this point. It's just these are the nights that I can't get fully on board with some of the talk just because of the fact that he like entering the fourth quarter in a game that could be like legitimately could swing the series. Like if the Pacers win this game, it feels like they have, if not like the edge, like they're like incumbent on winning the finals. You can't show up and have 5 points through 3 quarters. That's just not going to get it done. And that box score is going to look a lot better than the final than his performance actually was because it'll say 17 points, but 5 points going into the fourth quarter is just like kind of unacceptable from the best player on a championship winning team.
I don't want to do any mental gymnastics here, but I definitely would have felt like this was a version of a must win for the Thunder because I just didn't see a path for them to win after going down 2-0 and having to go on the road. I just felt like the Pacers were going to get one of those games at home if they went up 2-0. Just regardless, I still think that that's going to happen. And then I just think that the Thunder wouldn't have been able to come back from 3-1 against this Pacers team. They're just simply too talented. You have to give it up to them whenever it comes to that. But yeah, we just knew that this team was going to come out super aggressive. So if you're Tyrese Halliburton, how could you possibly let this be a passive game? Like, I think he's so much more comfortable, like being pass first for the first, part of the game, letting that game to come to him, and then letting the defense kind of adjust to his passing ability, and maybe every single game setting himself up like that, and then he can get going. I feel like that was just not the way to go about it in this game, and unfortunately, this team. And like I said earlier, I got to respect Pascal Siakam, so I want to throw this to you. I feel like we've seen, and I know this team is 3 games away from winning an NBA championship, but we've seen in history, I think, a lot of pass first point guards on great teams still have like these teams have the ability to win a championship, but it's also in part due to they have a score first type of superstar player also with them. I think about like John Stockton with, on the Utah Jazz. Like obviously they never won the championship, but you have a lot of different teams. And Karl Malone was still top 5 in the scoring all time. Like he was a score first kind of power forward. And like I'm thinking even Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire was averaging like 26 points during that time. Like I feel like the Pacers team just isn't built to get over that hump if Tyrese Halliburton is going to play like he did against the Thunder. So I wanted to throw that out there. I think it's going to be something that people talk about. Can you win with a pass first, passive kind of player being your number one guy, and he has these type of inconsistent nights? That's definitely, I think, going to be one of the topics coming in over the next few days.
Yeah, I think that I mean we're seeing it right now. It feels like they're 3 wins away, like you were just pointing out. So they? Yes, but it just can't come on the fact that he's also like he can be pass first. It's just like at some points you just have to like when the others aren't creating for you, you have to be able to like you have to know the line between pass first and I need to be aggressive here, and it feels like that line gets kind of blurred for Tyrese Halliburton, and it's just like it's not even the fact that like you'd just rather your superstar you live and die with your superstar at some points, right? Like you'd rather him take a bunch of shots, be ultra aggressive because he has the bag to do it. Like he has the handles, he can get to the rim, he can even shoot pretty decently. He's a much improved shooter from when he first came into the NBA. So you just rather like live and die with the ship and have him chucking up 15, 16, 17, 18 shots. And if you guys die with that, then you do. But like you'd rather him taking a bunch of shots than like maybe some of the other guys on that team, and then like Aaron Nesmith or just Andrew Nemhard or any of the other guys on the team. Like Halliburton is your best player, and if they're not getting it going like to start off the bat, you can't let Oklahoma City bust open like these big leads and just not have anything going for yourself. Like you just in general, the point that I'm trying to reiterate here is 5 points going into the fourth quarter. No matter how pass first you are, it can't happen, especially against a team that's this good. This Thunder team won 68 games over the regular season, and they have proven to be one of, if not the best team in the NBA.
Hey, 5 points going into the fourth quarter. That's better math than I did earlier because I think I said 6. I completely agree with everything. I think we're on the same page whenever it comes to that sort of stuff. He's definitely got to be more aggressive. There were points in game one where I felt like he stopped the bleeding. And if he's not there to do it, I just can't, as good as this supporting cast is for the Pacers, can't rely on them to stop the bleeding against the Thunder. I think it needs to be Tyrese Halliburton. He had a couple of different moments in game one where he hit a three and was able to stop these different runs in their tracks, and that was so crucial for them to be on the road. But they go back at home, and this series can look a lot different if the Pacers win game three. Let's make some predictions for game three. I think it's a toss-up. I really do. Give me the Pacers. Give me the Pacers in game three. I think they bounce back, especially being at home.
Yeah, I think the Pacers get one of the next two, but I think the Thunder carry the momentum from this game into the next game. Give me the Thunder in game three.